Welcome back, guys. This is Jason, KM4ACK. Today, we're going to be building an APRS Digipeater using the Digirig Soundcard and your favorite Chinese HT. Stick around, and we'll get right to it. Real quick before we get going today, I've got to give a shout out to these guys. They're my latest patrons over on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, I'll leave a link to Patreon down in the description below. So for this project today, we're going to be using the Digirig Soundcard. We're going to be using a Raspberry Pi, and then you can kind of take your pick of radios. I've got the Baofeng UV5R here, and I've got the Retevis RT85 here. Either one of these should work fine for this project. So let's go ahead and jump over to the Raspberry Pi and get started. Okay, so I've got a Raspberry Pi in front of us, and I have used Build-A-Pi to install Direwolf. And that's the only application we're going to use for this particular project. And it makes it nice because if you didn't want to load a full GUI environment, you could run this project on like a Raspberry Pi Zero. You would need to go ahead and install Direwolf, and then you could configure the direwolf.conf file using a nano editor, and you wouldn't have a need for a desktop at all. But for today, we will be utilizing the desktop. Now, I already have the Digirig Soundcard connected to the Raspberry Pi, and I have the other end of that connected up to the Baofeng UV5R. Now, we need a couple of pieces of information before we get started. So, the first thing I'm going to run is a record space-L. And what that's going to give us is that's going to give us our card number, which is 3, and our device number, which is 0. And we'll need those bits of information once we get into the direwolf.config file. Now, we also need one more piece of information that we will be using for PTT control inside the direwolf.conf file. So we want to run ls space, let me get my mouse out of the way, ls space -l space /dev /serial /by -id. And we'll go ahead and press the return key on that. Now, I happen to have two different USB devices connected to this particular Pi. I've got a GPS unit, and I've got the Digirig Soundcard. What we're looking for in this case is the one that says USB Silicon Labs. And you'll notice that it points to this TTY USB 0. And that's more information that we're going to need inside that direwolf.conf file. So now that we've got those pieces of information, let's go ahead and open up the file browser. And in your home directory, after you have installed Direwolf, you should see the direwolf.conf or .conf file. I'm going to right click on that and open that with the text editor. Now, if you don't have line numbers turned on already, you might want to do that. It might make it a little bit easier to follow along in this project because I will be referencing line numbers. Yours may not match up exactly with mine, but it should be fairly close. You just want to go up to View and choose Line Numbers, and that'll give you the line numbers if you don't have them already. So let's go ahead and start scrolling through this file and see if we can find the first thing we need to change. And the first thing we're going to look for under this first audio device properties is going to be this line here, a device plug HW : 3,0. Now, what that is that is our sound card number that we looked up just a second ago. So if you'll remember, that card number was 3 and it was device 0. So 3,0 is correct in this particular case. If yours is different, you may have to make a modification here. Also, if you didn't install this with Build-A-Pi, you may find a # in front of this line. If you do, we will need to remove the #. Anything that's got a pound in front of it is just a comment, and Direwolf will ignore that particular line. So we definitely don't want it ignoring our sound card, so remove that pound sign if you have it there. Now, let's keep scrolling on down. The next thing you're looking for is your call sign or the mycall variable roughly on line 141 of the direwolf.conf file. So again, remove the pound sign if it's there. You want to put your call sign out here, and then you want to give it an SSID number. Now, if you're unsure which SSID number you want to go with, you'll need to do a little bit of research on the internet so that you can find the standard use cases of different SSIDs. My APRS, APRS Digipeater that I run here at the house, has a -2, so we don't want to use that. So I'm just going to use -4 for this particular example. Oop, I'm off by a line. Let's see if I can get back up to that and go -4. You definitely don't want to use -7, you don't want to use -9, and you don't want to use -10. 7 is typically reserved for HTs, 9 is reserved for your primary mobile station, and 10 is used by WinLink gateways. So we'll use -4 in this particular case. Now let's look right here at line 156. And make sure, see if I can scroll that just a little bit, make sure that you have modem 1200 set and that you don't have a pound sign in front of modem 1200. Now, scrolling on down, we're looking for the PTT section of this config file. Now, again, let me take a quick peek at the terminal window. And if you remember, we were using TTY USB 0. And that was for the USB Silicon Labs sound card. So back in the config file, we're looking for this line right here, the PTT space /dev/TTY USB 0 space RTS. And I'm just going to remove the pound sign in front of that line so that it will handle the PTT for us. Now let's continue scrolling on in this file, and we are looking for the fixed position beaconing properties. So you're going to be roughly at this point down on line 278. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this first line right here, and I'm going to copy that, and we will paste it to the line above. I'm going to give myself a little bit of space here so it's a little easier to see what's going on. Now, let's walk through this line real quick, and then I'll show you guys how to find your latitude and longitude in the correct format. But pbeacon is a stationary stations beacon. So it's going to delay by 1 minute. So that means after Direwolf starts, it's going to wait for 1 minute before it beacons out. And then it's going to beacon every 30 minutes. You can change that as needed to suit your particular installation. This here is the overlay and the symbol that is going to appear on APRS.FI, and a lot of radios will display this symbol as well. Now, I want to take a short pause here and show you where you can find other symbols that you may want to use. So I'm going to minimize that comp file, and we're going to come right here back on the command line. Let me go ahead and clear that information because we're done with that. And we're going to run Direwolf, well, can't get it, there we go. Direwolf space -S. And I got to spell it right or it's not going to work. So Direwolf space -S. Go ahead and press return, and that will list out all of the different symbols that are possible to use with Direwolf. So if you need something other than the regular Digipeater symbol on the map, you might want to take a look at this and find one that better suits your particular application. Let's go ahead and jump back into that configuration file now that we know what this information is here. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to set the latitude and longitude for our station. And I'm going to show you guys the easiest way I have found to get this information in the right format. Let's jump over to APRS .fi. Now, you will need to be logged in order for this to work. But once you're logged in, come right over here to the right-hand side and click on Preferences. Come up to your units and time, and then right here in the coordinates format, you want to choose the one that has APRS in the name. So there's 3 different ones listed here, but we want the one specifically for APRS. Now, if you watch right up here in the top left corner, you will be able to see those coordinates change as I'm moving around on the map. So once you find the spot that you want to place your Digipeater, you'll just go ahead and copy those coordinates out of that top left corner. Now let's go ahead and jump back over to the config file. And right here, I'm going to change mine with the first 2 numbers that I found, which was 35. I'm going to jump over past that character there, and I'll set that to 55.08. I believe that's what it was in my case. Now, on the other side, 086. We'll jump past that little mark again. It was 17 and 31, and that should put us fairly close to where I want it on the map. Now, the next thing over here, this is power levels of your radio. So in this particular case, I'm running a little HT radio. We're just going to set that to 5 watts. You would need to set the antenna height above ground in the next section here. You're going to set the antenna gain right here. Mine is probably only 1, so I'll change that. And then we can change the comment that is going to display on the APRS map. And I'm going to set this to, let's just call this Pi Digi, and that should be good enough for this particular video. So now we have our beacon set that is going to beacon out. Remember, every 30 minutes after a 1-minute delay. So let's scroll down a little further in the file until we find the APRS Digipeater properties, and that's roughly on line 321. Now, we really don't need to probably change anything on this line for the vast majority of installations. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the # in front of that line, telling Direwolf that I do want to digipeat out signals that I hear. Now, you can also go online and kind of take a look at filtering. I'm not going to get into filtering for this particular video, but you could set a filter here if you wanted to. Now, let's go ahead and configure the gateway. So we're going to scroll down to this next section, that is the Internet Gateway. On roughly line 351, we want to remove the # in front of the IG server, and I'm going to leave mine at this North America server. If you're somewhere else in the world, you might want to use one of these others that's listed above. If that was the case, you would just replace this one with whichever one you wanted to use. So if you were in Europe, you would simply copy this information and place it on this line in place of this North America. But since I'm in North America, we're going to leave it at that. Now, the next thing we need is the login for the server. And this is the APRS backend servers here. So let's remove the # in front of this line. I'm going to come over right here. This is where I'm going to enter my own call sign. And let's make that a capital just in case it matters. And -4 was my SSID. Now we're going to need to know the passcode for the server. So let's go ahead and jump over to this website here. This is apps.magicbug.co.uk/passcode, and I'll leave that right here along the screen for you. But you simply want to put in your call sign without the SSID, and then just click Generate Passcode. And it will generate the passcode that you need for your call sign. So mine is 20389, yours will be different. Let's go ahead and jump back over to that comp file, and I'll enter 20389 out there just to the right of my call sign, and make sure you leave a space right here between these. Now, I want to point out this next section that's just below this Internet Gateway login right here. And these couple of lines here are for sending your beacon direct to the internet instead of sending it out over RF. I'm going to be sending mine out over RF, but if maybe you didn't have another gateway close enough to you in your area that would hear that beacon and put you on the map, you might want to go ahead and configure this. Again, you would remove this # here. It's going to send it to the internet gateway. It's going to delay by 30 seconds after Direwolf starts, and it's going to send that beacon out every 60 minutes. Now, you will also need to change your latitude and your longitude, just like we did up above. Let's scroll on down a little bit, and we've got 2 more changes that we want to make. I do want messages that are heard over the internet sent to my radio. So I want to remove the # in front of this line at line 373, and this is the internet transmit, so IGTX via channel 0, which is what we configured up above. And that'll be a path of wide 1-1. So just remove the # in front of that and we're good to go. And I also want to verify this line right here at roughly line 381 in the comp file. I want to limit the number of packets that can be sent from the internet out over RF. We just don't want to flood our local area with unnecessary traffic, so be certain that this is not commented out. Okay, so I lost one little section of video here, but what I have done is gone to the terminal window, started Direwolf with Direwolf --P, and then grabbed my HT and sent out a APRS beacon from the HT. Okay, so let's kind of walk through. Everything seems to be working, but let's walk through exactly what happened here in all of this that you see on the screen. What you're seeing, anything in pink is what the Digipeater transmitted out. So this was its initial packet that it transmitted out about 1 minute after Direwolf started. Next, what you see is my HT, which my HT is indicated by the SSID of 7. So it received my HT's packet when I transmitted from it. Now, you'll also notice right here that I am getting an audio input level is too high. It's not really an error, but more of a warning that you need to take some action here. And the way you'll adjust that is by adjusting the volume on your HT until it is set correctly for your particular setup. And I just kind of monitor mine after I get a new station on the air. It's really hard to check it when you've got another HT that's within just 10 or 15 feet of the gateway. It's always going to appear hot just about. But I kind of monitor that once I put it on the air and I start seeing other traffic come in. If I'm still seeing this warning, I'm going to reduce the volume a little bit. So let's see, what else do we have going? There was my HT sending the beacon, and you'll also notice that in my comment section, I have WinLink. That's coming from the HT, and I'll show you why that matters in just a second. But after it received the beacon from my HT, you'll see that it did digipeat that out here. Remember, anything in pink is what's going out, being transmitted by the Digipeater itself. All right, now, because of that WinLink comment that I have, the next message that came through is this one here. And this came from the internet, so you can see right here, Internet Gateway to transmit. And this is from WLNK-1, and it simply tells me that I have a WinLink mail message pending. Direwolf takes a look to see if it's heard my station in the last 60 minutes. If it has, it's going to transmit out that message to me, and you can see that right here with the pink message, again indicating that it has transmitted, and you'll see that it sent this out here, this message, and I received that on my HT radio. And right down here you can see right there, that is where my radio sent out, my HT radio sent out an acknowledgement that it received that message that the gateway sent. So right here you can see that that is my HT. It sent out an acknowledgement, and then the gateway went ahead and transmitted that acknowledgement back out so that that would be received by the WLNK station, acknowledging that I had received that message. So it looks like everything is up and running correctly. Now, I want to go over one more thing real quick, because the station, you could stop right here and it would work perfect for you. But you might want a map display, and I'm going to jump over to Xastir again, and we're going to show you how to configure it for Direwolf. We're not going to be using it to control the Digipeater, but we're just going to be receiving things from Direwolf and placing it on a map. So let's go ahead and open up Xastir right here. And I'm going to jump back over to the Direwolf, whoop, wrong one, the Direwolf window for just a second. I'm going to press Control-C to stop that. We'll clear that screen. And we'll go ahead and issue that Direwolf --P command again. And what we're looking for is this virtual KISS TNC that is available on this port here. And that's kind of interesting. It took it a couple of tries to get logged into the internet gateway, but it was finally successful. But anyway, I want this /dev/PTS/2. We're going to be using that to bring all of this information into the map. So let's come up to Interface and Interface Control. And I'm going to click Add right here, and we want to use a serial KISS TNC. And I'm going to choose Add, and it's going to populate this window here. And in the TNC port is where we want to put that /dev/PTS/2. Now I do want to allow transmitting because I might want to send a message using Xastir to populate that out over RF. If you don't think you're going to utilize that, you could disallow transmitting here. You definitely do not want to put a check mark by Digipeat, so leave that unchecked. And I'm also going to disable all iGate traffic, so I want it to make sure this choice here is selected because Direwolf itself is handling all of that information. The only thing we're doing with this right now is we're bringing the information that Direwolf hears and placing it on the map. Once you've got this /dev/PTS/2, let's go ahead and click OK. I'm going to highlight that and choose Start. And you should see it change to device 0 up. And that's it. That should be configured. So once again, I'm going to grab my HT and we're going to send out another beacon. This time we should see it populate on the map. And there you could see the HT showing up on the map. If we go back over and we check the Direwolf window again, you'll see that right here is where it heard my HT, and then again it digipeated that information out over RF. So at this point, I'm pretty much ready to go ahead and put my station over on the primary APRS frequency, and then just watch it over the next couple of days and dial in that audio level so that I'm not getting that audio level is too high warning. If you found this information helpful, be sure to give us a thumbs up before you head off. We will see you guys on the next video. Until then, 7-3.